Hello, my name's Fiona Forsyth and I'm a family lawyer at Russell-Cooke.
Hi, I'm Oscar Smith and I'm also a family lawyer at Russell-Cooke.
We're glad that you joined us today because we'd like to chat a little bit about some of the difficulties that have been encountered by parents and children as a result of the pandemic and the lockdown measures.
Yeah, so my personal situation, I'm a father. I've got two young children, one age 1, one age 4. And certainly the pandemic and the lockdown that's happened has been really tricky, and I think this is for most parents, all living together and no childcare and having to work as well. It's caused real problems. But so we've had some great relief with schools reopening and childcare reopening, and our youngest has started at reception recently, which has been really good for him in my view.
It's interesting you use the word relief. I've got older kids. Mine are 17 and 19, and I too have actually been really pleased to see the back of my 17-year-old son in particular going back to school in September, because older kids I think have different challenges, and it's been a different challenge looking after kids of my age in this pandemic. I'm a sole parent. And for them, it's been really hard not being able to see their peers and their friends. And it's had quite a detrimental effect, I think, not only on their education, but also on their mental well-being. So I'm very pleased to see my kids back to school to get the benefit of a school environment and friendships.
And I've found it's been a kind of hot topic at the school gate on the school run, where you hear the parents of murmurs of all their concerns. Are they doing the right thing for their child, sending them back to school, or should they consider at the moment perhaps pulling them out of school and homeschooling? And I think particularly with some of the younger children who aren't so used to school and don't have the same pressures of exams, that's a kind of real hot topic at the moment. And certainly with my son's school, there's been quite a few cases of Covid-19 in the parents, certainly, and it's made people understandably very jittery about the whole school situation.
Yeah, I think we've come across this personally as parents, but also in our practice, and I think it's really understandable parents have got concerns. As I said, my children being older, they certainly need their peer interaction for well-being. But you can see that if a parent's got health concerns of their own, or they're worried about contracting the virus from their child being at school, and let's be honest, teenagers don't necessarily socially distance as well as they should do, it can be a real worry. And it's certainly been something that's been a topic of conversation amongst my friends, as well as we've been discovering in our practice.
Yeah, I think that's right. And certainly my 4-year-old and his peer group, they certainly don't social distance at all. It's impossible to police. But I would agree with my personal experience. My son, he's been a lot happier since he's been able to mix with other 4 and 5-year-olds again, and not being stuck at home with his baby brother and his parents. So I think it's really helped him going back to school and things. But you can see how this particular issue is amplified when parents are separated. And you can imagine a scenario where perhaps the parent who looks after the child more often than not, perhaps they've made the decision not to send the child back to school. And perhaps there's a bit of a dispute between them and the other parent. And ultimately, whatever decision they make on behalf of their child, it's got to be whatever's best for that child. And I think it's a really difficult issue to resolve. How does anyone know what's best for your child?
Well, that's right. I think it's important to remember that parents, when they're together, don't necessarily agree on their co-parenting decisions. Never mind introducing the extra layer of challenge when you're separating or separated. I think I can say honestly, communication is vital. It's communication not only between parents, but also with the school, finding out what they're putting in place, what protective measures they've got in place, what checks and balances and local guidelines. I know at my son's school they've been very clear. They send regular updates out. almost on a weekly basis now because of all the changes that we have. And I think that does certainly help reassure parents. It certainly helps reassure me. And I think from speaking to others, more information from schools is very, very helpful to make people feel a little less worried about it.
I think that's right. I mean, certainly from my son's school, they've with the parents testing positive, they haven't kind of reacted in a in a in a disproportionate way. They've made sure that those kind of families are socially distant. They don't come to the school, and they're very firm with their communications with everyone. Do not come to the school if you're showing symptoms. And it certainly reassures me to know that the school are on top of things. And I imagine if parents are worried, one of the ways, as you say, to resolve it would be speak to the school and try and find out exactly what they're doing. But I know certainly, you know, you've talked about communication between parents, and when parents are separated, I think often the hardest ongoing issue is how they communicate with one another about their child.
I agree, and I think sometimes one has to accept that you may not be able to manage to come to an agreement together. If you can reach out to a trusted friend or third-party individual who you both trust and you both know, who can effectively help you reach a decision together, that's great. But sometimes parents reach an impasse and actually need to reach out for more professional help and assistance at an early stage.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I guess some parents would almost see it as a failure if they have to reach out to a third party, particularly a professional, a mediator or something like that. But that's absolutely not the case. I think it's actually a sign that they're really, you know, determined to resolve the issue. Much better going to a mediator than things really breaking down and perhaps having to take further steps. And I do think a mediator would be the first point of call if I'm certainly I've been faced with similar issues such as this in my professional capacity. That's where I've signposted clients, certainly.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I'm a trained mediator myself, and I do think a mediator is the best person in the first instance to enable parents to feel that they're in a safe environment, that they can air their concerns, understand one another, and actually explore and de-escalate any hostility and conflict before it gets to a situation where there's no turning back, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, and you really, I guess, want to treat the court system as a kind of last resort in these circumstances, particularly with the backlog of cases we're seeing in the family courts. So even if mediation doesn't work, there are lots of other options, and I just think parents really need to reach out, speak to a solicitor, and get some good early professional advice if there's this type of dispute. You know, we've talked about our personal circumstances, and I think both of us probably agree for our children, it's been a real benefit for them to be back with friends at school and in education. And probably on balance, I would say that would be my gut instinct. It's probably the if you can generalize at all, it's probably the better outcome in this situation. I mean, would you say that's fair?
I think every situation is particular to the child and to that particular family unit. So it is difficult to generalise, but given that we're also reflecting on our personal experiences, I think I would agree with you. It's certainly been of enormous benefit to my son to be back at school with his peer group and just to be interacting. So for his well-being, and given that welfare is key, I would agree with that. But I think no size fits all, and that's why being able to reach out early on and get independent professional assistance is a really positive thing, to recognise that you might need some help in reaching an agreement. It's bespoke to you and your family.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and I hope some of the information we've given you has been interesting. And if you'd like to talk anything through further, please do get in touch with Fiona or with me.